Welcome to the very first tour of my base. In this video, I'll be explaining what this project is all about, how it started, why I began it, and what I'm planning to do next. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the tour that the Scorp has prepared for you. Maybe some of your questions will be answered along the way, and if not, feel free to drop your thoughts or questions down in the comments. Let's dive in, and welcome to the world of Scorpion Venom 83. The base currently runs on 4,356 kilowatts of power, uses 357 units of H2O, and consumes 100 units of O2. Every system is carefully balanced to keep this massive structure running smoothly. It's a true test of efficiency, and the Scorp is constantly pushing to make it even better. The Scorp has been playing this amazing game for a very long time, and now he's decided to see just how far he can push the limits of base building. Of course, he's not building a small base. Oh no, he's going big. So big that it becomes extreme. Every wall, every structure, every detail, built entirely by the Scorp himself. And with a project this massive, there are bound to be challenges along the way. But that's part of the fun, finding creative ways to solve every problem that comes his way. The Scorp may not be the best builder out there, and sometimes, he might even get things wrong. That's where you come in. He's counting on your help, your tips, your advice, and your experience, to guide him, to teach him new things, and to help him improve along the way. At the same time, this project isn't just for him. It's also here to inspire you, to give you new ideas for your own base builds, and to show that even when things don't go perfectly, you can still create something amazing. That's the journey of Scorpion Venom 83, learning, building, and growing together. The Scorp is always thinking about which direction he wants to build next. Sometimes he hesitates, questioning his choices, wondering if something truly fits the vision he has in mind. There are moments when he builds something, steps back to take a look, and then decides to tear it down and start over, not because it failed, but because it didn't look or feel quite right. That's the creative process of the Scorp, always pushing for something better, always striving to make his base truly stand out. The Scorp is currently using 4 water sources to keep his base fully supplied. He carefully monitors each one to make sure he doesn't exceed the limit of what a single source can handle. However, one of those water sources is just a test setup, an experiment to see how far he can push the system and how efficiently the base can manage its resources. It's all part of the Scorp's ongoing mission to balance power, water, and design, one step at a time. He's now about to begin the tour inside the base. And of course, since he completely trusts his own creation, the Scorp takes off his helmet. After all, this is his world, his build, and his safe place to explore. This is the main headquarters of the base, the heart of all operations. Here, the oxygen is processed and distributed, making it possible to breathe safely inside the base. The Scorp has also placed a printer here, so he doesn't have to step outside every time he needs to craft something. To keep things organized, he's built 2 large storage units, providing plenty of space for supplies and materials. Upstairs, he set up the repair stations and technical workbenches, along with even more storage to keep everything within easy reach. It's a fully functional and efficient command center, carefully designed by the Scorp himself.
oxygen source external.
This is where the first living quarters and bathrooms were built. You'll often see the Scorp walking through this area, mainly because it's the most convenient part of the base for handling all kinds of tasks. It's practical, well-placed, and serves as one of the key sections of his expanding build. This is the canteen, the main dining and social area of the base. The Scorp still plans to add a lot more furniture here and make it look much better over time. For now, he's placed a few pieces just to give the space some life, so it doesn't feel completely empty. It's a work in progress, but soon, this will become one of the coziest spots in the entire base. After building the domes, the Scorp didn't use this space very often. However, one of you gave him a tip on how to make better use of the domes, and he followed that advice. He's very thankful for that suggestion. It turned out to be a really good tip, and now the domes are being used much more effectively. This is the apple tree's dome one. The Scorp built this dome to produce plenty of apples for the base. Of course, since the space was available, he also decided to add a few more living quarters and a bathroom here. It's a practical and productive area, combining resources and living space all in one. This is the first launch platform. The Scorp still needs to produce the food required for this platform, but he wanted to focus first on building it properly and connecting everything correctly. It's all about laying a solid foundation before moving on to the next steps. This is the first garage. The Scorp originally wanted to use it a lot, but he discovered there was a bug with the garage. To avoid frustration, he still built it, but he doesn't actually use it at the moment. He's not sure yet if the bug has been fixed, so for now, it remains more of a placeholder than a fully functional space. This dome is designed for the pine trees. They produce a lot of oxygen, helping to keep the base breathable, and of course, they also make the area look really beautiful. It's both functional and visually appealing, a perfect addition to the Scorp space. In these spaces, the Scorp isn't quite sure what to build yet. Over time, he'll come up with ideas, but of course, you're welcome to brainstorm with him too and suggest what could go here. It's a place full of potential, waiting to be shaped by creativity, both his and yours. This is one of the 4 large clusters of 5. There's plenty of space here, with lots of living quarters and bathrooms for anyone who wants to stay. It's a spacious and well-organized area, designed to accommodate many residents comfortably. These living clusters have a lobby where residents can charge the batteries for their space and also store their belongings. The Scorp still needs to build everything in this lobby, and once it's completed, he plans to make plenty of batteries, so he can test if there's enough power for everything. It's all about making sure the system works smoothly before it goes fully operational. This lobby has already been built by the Scorp, but the batteries haven't been added yet. They'll be installed soon to make the space fully functional and ready for testing. This is a temporary storage for the food coming from the domes. Since the Scorp can process a lot of food, he needs plenty of space to handle it all. That's why this storage is temporary. It's just a solution until a more permanent setup is ready.
Water refilled.
Now we're at the section he built to store all the food. Most of the storage rooms are already in use, and the Scorp is setting it up so that all types of food can be properly organized and distributed. It's a well-planned area to keep the base fully supplied and efficient. These are the 3 large domes. The Scorp plans to put all 3 to full use. Of course, he first needs to thoroughly test everything to make sure he can push enough water into them. He's not entirely sure if there's a limit to the water pipes, but that's exactly what he's going to test as he sets things up. Since there are hills at the back of the base, the Scorp isn't quite sure yet what would look best there. He's open to ideas, so if you have any suggestions, he'd love to hear them. It's a space full of potential, waiting to be shaped with creativity, maybe even yours. Since the Scorp had to keep walking to the front of the base to build things, he came up with a sort of central exit to reach the middle of the base more easily. Of course, he's far from finished building, so there will be more exits added as the base continues to expand. The Scorp also had the idea to add a bit of variety to the base. He plans to create different residential areas with unique layouts, making each section feel distinct and interesting. It's all about mixing things up and keeping the base dynamic and engaging. The Scorp plans to relocate the large solar park because he doesn't think it looks good in its current spot and wants to build something beautiful there in the future. It's all part of his plan to make the base not only functional, but also visually appealing.
Oxygen source external.
All the rocks around the base will be cleared away so that the Scorp has enough space to expand the base. It's part of the ongoing plan to make room for future builds and improvements. Now the Scorp is curious to see how many of you are paying attention. He hasn't told you the current count of living quarters yet. His plan is to build as many as possible. What do you think? Will he go over 150 living quarters? Or not quite yet? He'd love to hear your guesses. The Scorp wants to thank all of you for your support and trust. He's far from finished expanding his base, even if Mars teases him along the way. With your tips and ideas, he's determined to build the biggest base ever. The more likes this video gets, the more extreme his building will become. So keep supporting, keep suggesting, and let's see how far he can push it.